Alright guys, so a while back I made a video about Walmart no longer carrying McFarlane DC Multiverse. Now of course I did this kind of in a sarcastic way, but there was a lot of points that people brought up that not all Walmarts are the same, that they can't find them in their stores, but there's a lot of evidence to prove that Walmarts are continuing to carry DC Multiverse in the collector's electronics section of the store. Now, at this point, collectors are starting to find the newest wave from the collector's edition, which is the Year 2 Batman, the Deadshot, and the Adam Strange. And of course, for the most part, this means that most Walmarts will have DC Multiverse figures in their collector section. Now, there could be the outlayer that doesn't carry DC, which I don't know why, unless maybe you live like in Alaska or Hawaii, or I'm not sure. But for the most part, a majority of the mainland Walmarts still carry McFarlane figures and products, although they have been moved to the collector's electronics section, because at the end of the day, Walmart does thrive on the notion that you can go to all of their stores and pretty much pick up any product that they all carry. This is a selling policy from Walmart, that you can travel to any Walmart and basically find the same products. And this largely appeals to the consumer, which is why Walmart is one of the largest consumer stores in the country. Now, not only have I personally found a lot of new figures at Walmart, and also the past wave, which is the Power Girl and the Captain Cold, that are still at a lot of my Walmarts. But online, you can pretty much see how people are starting to find them at Walmart. Now, personally, I found that new wave, that new collector's wave at Target, which you can also see online that people are finding as well. Now, McFarlane is still being sold in other places, such as Best Buy, FYE, and GameStop. So, after all of that, it's safe to say that McFarlane is still thriving in his last year and continuing to sell figures as usual. So that takes me into the narrative that sometimes big brain people try and push, and that is that McFarlane doesn't sell. McFarlane is pure peg warmers. McFarlane you can find at Ross or at Ollie's. Although, I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but you only find figures that you've had already for 2, 3 years, or, the crap figures at Ross. Never really found anything worth buying or anything being found at Ross or Ollie's. Now, in that video, I did get into it with some people in the comments. Of course, there's always going to be those worms that try and push their ideas, even though they basically have to do mental gymnastics to tell themselves that McFarlane doesn't sell, and culminating in one guy telling me that 90% of McFarlane are peg warmers.
Oh, really?
And basically, this is really funny because it makes no sense. I mean, how can an action figure line continue to, thrive and make sales if they make crap product? And you can say whatever you want, but McFarlane does have a very large, passionate fandom that follows him, that loves the DC Multiverse line. You may not like it, you may not love it, but you're going to have to learn to live with it. And these people collect DC Multiverse with a fervor. And in all honesty, if McFarlane didn't sell product, the line would have ended in the first 2 or 3 years due to low sales. And we actually have precedent for this, because if you remember the 5-inch DC icons, they only lasted about 2 years before the line ended. And then we got moved into the 7-inch orangutan arm DC Essentials, which also only lasted about 2 years before it went under. And both of these lines ended due to low sales, and that is a fact. Now, even Bobby Valla, who I sometimes quote on here because he does run his own toy line, and even he said that no matter what you think of McFarlane, his scale, his sales tactics, his character selection, he definitely moves product. He sells units, which keep his line going. And that's just it. You don't have to delude yourself or make stuff up. Just accept it. Move on with your life. McFarlane sells relatively well. Now, we all know, of course, that Mattel will retain the license in about a year, and we will actually see how they do, but that has yet to be seen. And I actually have a couple of anecdotes, personal things that happened to me that I have seen over the years. I remember going into a Walmart and finding like 20 of the tactical suit Snyder versus Batman. So I bought two, and about 2 days later, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and buy my third one just to finish it off. And I went back, and they were absolutely gone. There was none left, so somebody bought those figures, and I just missed out. Now, a more recent one is when I went to Target and I found the next collector's wave, which, of course, as I said, was Batman Year 2, which they had two of, Deadshot, which they also had two of, and Adam Strange, which I ended up copying the platinum and one of the standard versions. Now, there was still two regular Adam Stranges there, and I said, you know what? If I really want to, tomorrow I'll come back and pick up an extra one. I can hold off on it. It's not something that I really, really need. Well, what do you think happened? I bought those figures at around 2 in the afternoon, maybe closer to 3. I went back the next morning at 9 o'clock just to see if I could pick up that Adam Strange, and everything was gone. The Year 2 Batmans, the Deadshots, the Adam Stranges, they were all gone. Quite literally flying off the shelves, and in less than 24 hours. So does that sound like peg warmers to you? Does that sound like nobody collects this line? I mean, this is going on everywhere. There's another wave, the digital wave, that had the Dr. Fate, the Two-Face, that classic Superman. And this one has been relatively quiet. They're starting to creep out at Walmarts, but you don't really see a lot of people finding them. But I would have to think that the main reason for this is because as quickly as they're putting them on the shelf, they are getting picked up and purchased. So you don't really have time. If you don't find it the day they set them out, if a Walmart or a Target worker isn't one of those dirty DC Multiverse resellers, you just have very little chance of finding them in store. And that's just part of the game. That is just something that comes with the territory. As an action figure collector and a figure hunter, you're going to have your ups and downs, you're going to have your scores, and you're going to have your days when you find absolutely nada. So, anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below. Catch you in the next one.